And welcome to Adobe Live. I'm very excited today to have Niki Hutchison with us, which is awesome. Hi, Niki. How are you doing?
Hi, Liz. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Let me just have a quick say hello to everyone in the chat. We've got lots of people joining us, which is lovely. We've got Sean, Angus, Caroline. Hi, Emma, Tony. Hey, Tony. Tony says, I see we're having a nice leisurely start to the day. Yeah, we are. Tony's always got, again, a Liz joke. Awesome. Well, maybe Niki, you can start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you before we dive into all learning how we can supercharge our audience growth, which I'm very excited because that is something that I want to do.
Something arguably you are good at already, Liz. But
Oh,
yes,
thanks.
looking forward to chatting about this today. So, hi everyone. My name is Niki Hutchison. I'm a business and marketing strategist. I'm based in Edinburgh, in Scotland, if you can notice the accent. And I have a background in strategy from working in creative agencies for most of my career. And I have been a business owner and entrepreneur for the last 12 or 13 years. And I'm really, really passionate about teaching people how to use organic marketing.
Amazing. Oh, that sounds awesome because I'm all about organic marketing. Ads freak me out. Awesome. Well, I think you've got a bit of a presentation to walk us through, and then we're going to be having a look at the Adobe Express beta scheduler, which is exciting. Take it away. Teach us.
Okay, great. So really happy to be doing this. I use the scheduler in my own business. So I will take you behind the scenes of some of the posts that I have ready to go out over the next couple of weeks. But I thought you'd probably be more interested to hear about how you can grow your audience and how the scheduler can help you do that as well. So before we start, I just want you to give yourselves a round of applause for coming along and taking the time to actually look into growing your business. So pats on the back, everybody, because I know as busy business owners, it's really hard to find the time to actually work on your business. Now, that being said, I know that we're here to talk about growing an audience. However, growing an audience is not the end goal. Now, I am a massive fan of Schitt's Creek. So there's a little image of one of my favorite characters coming up. And you might be feeling a bit like David here. You might be thinking, what? I've shown up. I want to learn how to grow my audience. And now you're telling me that that is not the end goal. What are you talking about, Niki? So what I just want to caveat that with is that it's not all about the numbers. It's all about how engaged your audience is. And that needs to be the end goal. And that is actually what is going to supercharge your growth, is if you really think about how you can engage your audience rather than just focusing on trying to grab as many different people to come along and follow you as possible. So we're good to go just now, do you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So keeping in mind that we are trying to grow an engaged audience, what we're not going to cover is spammy tactics. You will never hear me encourage you or tell you how you can get 10,000 followers in a week, because honestly, that would be easy and it would be completely meaningless. We're not going to talk about follow and unfollow tactics. Again, really icky, doesn't make you feel good, doesn't make your followers feel good, and will not result in an engaged audience. We're definitely not going to talk about follow trains. You know, if you're in a Facebook group and somebody says, hey, there are 5,000 people in this group, let's all follow each other and then we'll have 5,000 followers. No, you will have 5,000 unengaged followers. In fact, probably just a few hundred, because not everybody will do it. Doesn't work. And we're definitely not going to cover unsolicited spamming. So that's when you are probably on LinkedIn, seems to happen a lot on LinkedIn. Somebody sends you a connection request and then the next thing, bam, they're in your inbox trying to sell you something. These are the things that do not work, and these are the things that will not grow an engaged audience. So what we are going to focus on today is why ads are not the best way to start growing your audience. So hopefully that is good news to lots of people, and what to focus on instead, including my number one audience growth tactic for today. And also, because I know that you're all really busy business owners, we're going to cover how you can achieve better results in the limited time that you have. We're also going to cover the 3 C's and how you can achieve them in your business. So these are clarity, communication, and consistency, and we'll cover all of those today. So I'd love to know in the chat, did you ever expect to spend so much time marketing your business? Because most of the small business owners that I work with did not. They set up their business because they're really passionate and they love the thing that they do, whatever that may be. And this idea that you have to actually market your business in order to do that thing that you love is not usually a very welcome surprise. So I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts in the chat.
Not yet. The chat's a bit quiet because everyone's on Behance, but I think they're going to head over to YouTube now.
Okay.
But I've definitely experienced that. Although now it's changed because now I really love marketing. I think I fall in love with it. And so now I want to spend more time than I need to marketing. And so I have to try and stop myself from doing too many things.
So you're the other way around, but that shows that your marketing is working because you've fallen in love with the results that you're getting, I would say. Yeah. And the good news is that Adobe Express Scheduler will help you save a ton of time.
Amazing.
So I'd also love to know in the chat if anybody has ever wondered whether paid ads are the answer. And absolutely no shame, because I think at one point or another, most of us as business owners have probably wondered this. But actually, paid ads are just the icing on the cake. There is really no point in investing time and money into setting up ads, which, as Liz said, they are pretty complex, before you have got strong foundations in place. So and I'm sure there are lots of designers in the chat, so before you have your beautiful branding rolled out across your online presence, before you have a good idea of what your audience wants to hear you talking about, loads of foundational things you need to have in place before you actually start paying for ads. So where does this leave you right now? And again, you might be feeling a little bit stressed. You might just be trying to do a bit of a smattering of everything. Maybe your head is being turned by the latest social media platform that's appeared. Maybe you're not sure where to invest your time, so you're ending up kind of spreading yourself a little too thin. But it doesn't need to be that way. So what else can you do instead? And this is where we come on to the first C, which is clarity. And because there is no detective in Schitt's Creek, as far as I know, there's certainly no image of one, we have this beautiful little girl instead. And this is one of my favorite phrases that I call going detective mode. And this basically means that you are paying attention to all of the analytics and insights that are available to you in relation to your business. So hopefully you have a website, and hopefully you have analytics embedded into that website. If you don't, then now is probably a good time. I mean, the 1st of July is probably a really good time because Google Analytics is going through a huge update and GA4 is rolling out on the 1st of July. So perfect timing. You don't need to worry about the past. You can just focus on the future. But the reason that I am so keen to recommend this to people, and I know, trust me, that Google Analytics, even just that phrase, a lot of people are like, oh God, no way. That's not for me. But I just love analytics because they will guide your strategy and they will stop you from wasting time going down rabbit holes. So for example, I have an agency as well as delivering trainings and workshops. And one of our agency clients came to us and said she wanted to launch a program and she wanted to really focus on Instagram. So the first thing that we did was we went into her analytics and had a good dig around and found out that actually about 1% of her web traffic was coming from Instagram. Now, at that point, you've got 2 options. One of them is harder work than the other. So the first option would be to really knuckle down and try and drive way more traffic from your Instagram to your website. Or the second one is to lean into what's actually already working. And what we found was that the majority of her traffic was coming from LinkedIn and also from a guest blog that she'd written for somebody else's website. So what we were able to do was double down on LinkedIn and also reach out to the person who she'd written the original blog for, because it was some time ago, find out if she could update it, write a new one, and also reach out to similar organizations to see if she could write guest blogs for them. So that's a much easier way than trying to get a short-term Instagram spike in traffic. So for me, analytics and paying attention to them is all about making your life easier. And insights is in relation to your social media. And of course, you can do this in app and you can find out all sorts of interesting things, mainly what types of posts are most interesting to your audience. So when you're providing value, is it the entertainment that they're loving? Like silly memes. My audience quite likes silly memes. Is it the carousels? A marker of success for me and my content is always how many saves I've got.
That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, not just the likes.
Oh, definitely not likes. Likes are they're just too easy for people, aren't they? Sometimes I feel like people sometimes it's sympathy likes.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I haven't seen her for a while. I'll give her a post a like. That'll do. There's not much commitment there at all. So for me, the biggest commitment is saves. And the type of content that gets saved on my Instagram is always the content that I have put a lot of thought into. And that's what I mean in terms of this engaged audience. There's a really weird fact, though, about my Instagram, which is that it doesn't matter what I post, there's always one person who likes it. So loads of them will get loads of, who saves it. So it doesn't matter how many saves I have, there's always one. So even if I put out a post that's bombed, it'll still have that one like. So there's some kind of super fan out there, which is
I love
kind of nice, but kind of creepy.
Someone saving every single post you've ever put out. Amazing.
So we'll see how that evolves. But yeah. So these are just a couple of ways that you can pay attention. And also, if you're doing email marketing, then, which I highly recommend, we'll come on to that, then there are insights and analytics that you can pay attention to there as well. So we'll come on to that.
I think a lot of creative, well, this is a huge generalization, but I never was a big fan of the numbers. And so I used to just ignore them. But now that I've started paying attention to them, like, it definitely does help. But I still spend more time than I should on Instagram because I enjoy it. So I just do it anyway.
So what kind of numbers do you pay attention to? You said that you monitor your saves as well.
Yeah, saves. I definitely do what you said, and I go back and look at previous posts and see what was popular to try and get an idea of what sort of content to post on Instagram. And I also just recycle content. So if like a post from like a year ago, say, was really popular, I'll post it again. I definitely pay more attention to like website traffic and where it's coming from. My open rate of my emails, like there's so much more data that I could collect, but yeah, that's a lot of what I check.
Yeah, but these are great because they'll give you such a great steer in what you should be doing going forward. Okay, so the next C is communication, and this there are a few different aspects to this, but for me, the most basic thing that you need to do is to align your social media channels. So what I would like you to take away from today is that you do not have to be everywhere, but that everywhere that you do have a presence does need to align. They need to align to each other. So you can see here, this is my personal profile on the left-hand side at the top. And although it's my personal profile, it's completely aligned with my business because I know that my audience is on Facebook. And therefore, I've made the choice, and you don't have to do this, but this is what works for me. I've made the choice to only use Facebook for my business. So I don't share family pictures and things like that on there anymore. Although there are settings where you can do that if you want. And in fact, I've turned my profile into what's called professional mode, so that I now have
interesting
followers.
Okay.
As well as friends, because this is something that Meta are focusing on in terms of reach.
Yeah.
So on there, I have a free Facebook community called the Audience Growth Collective. So on there, I have my banner that directs people to that community, because I want to know that when I'm spending time in Facebook groups and maybe I'm giving some helpful tips or I'm commenting and making a recommendation, I want to know that if somebody says, oh, Niki Hutchison has given this piece of advice, I wonder who she is. They click through and they can see exactly who I am. And you'll see in my introduction section on the bottom left there, I've got the link to one of my lead magnets as well, so that everything is optimized to try and grow my audience there. Then this is the actual Facebook community on the right. Welcome to the Audience Growth Collective. So you can see they look very similar. They're branded, their branding aligns. And that is my LinkedIn profile, again, promoting one of my programs at the time. And Twitter, I have included in the bio. I basically direct people away from Twitter because I don't really like it as a platform, but I have a presence there in case, because quite often I'll be tagged, or, you know, I might want to speak to a journalist or something. But I have it aligned so it looks like all of my other channels, but in the bio, I'm directing people away from there and over to follow me on Instagram. So have a think about where you want. I kind of term it as all roads lead. So normally all roads for me will lead to Instagram or my podcast, or when I'm going through a launch phase, all roads will lead to that thing that I'm launching or free challenge that I'm running or whatever. So if you're not necessarily launching anything specific, then have a think about which channel you actually want to grow your audience on, because you will struggle to grow it on all of them at the same time.
Yeah, that is so true. How many do you think one, you should just focus on one at a time, or maybe you can keep, I guess it depends on everyone, like how much they feel like they can keep up with.
Exactly. Yeah. It depends how much time you have available for marketing and whether you have anybody helping you. And the scheduling tool that you're using, of course.
Yeah. Nice segue. Let's go.
So yeah, inside Adobe Express, you can create lots of different types of posts. As you can see here, you can take one piece of content and you can resize it into all of these different things, and then you can schedule it onto your scheduler. So you can see here that you can view by month or you can view by week. I prefer to have it view by week. And you can see yesterday I was promoting this session with Liz. So that went out on a couple of my main channels that I use. And then you can see that today I am on to promoting my next product or service, if you like. I'm doing a strategy session at the end of the month. So that has been published already. Now, don't worry. This is my job. So I tend to publish a lot of content. I will normally publish at least one post on most of my channels every day, Monday to Friday, and then I'll do more kind of relaxed behind the scenes content at the weekend. So you can see that I've got loads of draft content ready to go. I've got some stuff that's been published already, and I've got lots to come over the rest of the week. So if I was going to do just do an example post as well. So let's see. So I can create a post, and I've got something already, but you can start, you can start from scratch. But I have got a design that I'm ready to upload already. I'm going to upload from the desktop. And this is my design that I want to upload. I want to do another post for my strategy session. And oh, sorry, I have to move. There we go. Move you guys out of the way. So starting from the photo, I've got my strategy session there, and I can just go to here. So Tuesday, I can just drag it in here, drag and drop.
Nice.
Add it that way. And if I want to publish it, let's say I want to publish it tonight. So just click on the calendar, scroll down a bit. I'm probably going to publish it maybe about 6:30 when people are having a bit of downtime. And then I just select my channel. Now I've got my channels already set up, as you can see. So I have my Facebook group here. So I want to post it inside my Facebook group. And I am just going to say blah, 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 something in there. And then I'm going to save it as draft. And I'm going to add it as a draft.
I really like that there's the publish now button. I mean, I guess if you're publishing it now, you could just do it in app, but I actually find it a lot easier to get the post all set up in the scheduler. And so I love that I've got the option to publish now if I want to, or then schedule it if I'm not ready.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that once you've got used to a way of working, like using the scheduler, then trying to do things in app just feels like you've got to get your head around that again. So I prefer to do everything in here. But yeah, if I wanted to, which I'm not going to do because obviously it has no caption, then I could take it off, save as draft, and I could publish it now. But let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's leave it
especially not with it saying blah.
Yeah. Not a good look. Yeah, so as you can see, I've got all of my content. Now, I prefer not, apart from on a Friday, which is when I publish a podcast every Friday. So every Friday, you'll see the same content across all of my channels promoting that week's podcast episode. But other than that, you can see that I like to spread things out across the week so that it's not boring for somebody if they go onto my Facebook and then my Instagram. So it's really easy to do that. And actually, if I decide that this post that I've just scheduled, well, drafted for tonight, actually, I've already talked about it on LinkedIn and Instagram today. So let's not talk about it in my group until Thursday. And it is so simple to drag and drop.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite features.
Oh, I feel so inspired seeing all of your content like that.
You mean yours doesn't look like this, Liv?
Well, I mainly just the bit that I haven't got good at, I've got good at scheduling pretty regularly for Instagram, but I'm terrible at like posting to all the other platforms. And it like not just in the sense that why not reuse it and post it on all the platforms because more people might see it. And so especially with my podcast, like I need to be posting it on LinkedIn and on Twitter, you know, and so yeah, seeing all your posts lined up like that is really inspiring. Fergie says this is content organization goals. I would agree. Yeah, I'm like, this is what I aspire to.
And honestly, so I'm sure lots of people know that Content Cal was a company that was created and bought by Adobe. And so I used Content Cal before Adobe Express existed. But so now obviously I use Adobe Express Scheduler. And before I found this tool, I was not organized like this. This is why I'm such an advocate for this tool, because it just makes life easy. Like if I couldn't use this scheduler and just drag and drop things and see at a glance where everything was and just honestly just like duplicate posts and things like that, then there's no way that I would be able to have this type of presence on all the different channels.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. So some people often say, or like a criticism of scheduling is that you're like not there to engage at the time it goes out. What are your thoughts on that?
So personally, I don't engage necessarily at the time that it goes out. I have time in my diary.
Okay.
This makes me sound like a total geek.
No, but that's good. Again, what I aspire to, but not what I actually achieve.
So I find it really, really distracting to have all the notifications on and all that going on my phone. So I have them off, and then I have 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at lunchtime, and 20 minutes in the evening to go on and engage. It's mainly all that time gets used up on Instagram, because I'm like you, Liz. I love Instagram.
Yeah.
I definitely need to do better on LinkedIn, but I don't think, personally, for me and my working habits, I wouldn't be able to get the important work done if I was always thinking, oh, wait, I have to go, that post's going out now, I need to go and engage with people. But what I would say is that this is all my baseline. I call it baseline content. So I know that if something happens to me, this is still going to go out. Yeah, exactly.
And then there'll be stuff like stories and comments. So that'll be like your extra engaging, won't it?
Totally. Yes.
That's such a good point. And I think it's, again, reminding ourselves that we can't, well, especially as like small, if we don't have a team and we're like a business of one, like we can't do everything. So it's working out a system that works for you, you know, in terms of, like what time you've got available to do it. And I think it's so good that you're so disciplined with how long you spend on the apps, because that is one thing I've not mastered yet.
It's hard and it's easy to fall out of the habit, but it really does affect how much work you can get done. So I really do try hard. And then each morning so you'll see loads of this stuff is still in draft. Each morning I'll normally go in and just check that everything's okay for that day. And actually there are a couple of changes that I wanted to make to some of these posts. So that's why they haven't gone out yet. So, you know, I am a bit I'm micromanaging my own content, but it means that I can see today, after today, how these posts have performed, for example. And then before it gets to Thursday, I can maybe tweak some of the wording, or if somebody's left a comment saying that strategy session sounds awesome, but I would love to know this, then I can add that into the caption before Thursday. And it's super easy to just go in, update, and save again.
I love the draft post option, and I love how they've changed it. Like the interface now for this scheduler in the beta, I love that you can see like the little previews of all the posts, because it means that you can just see it all at a glance. And I think, it just means that you can get a really good sense, like a really good overview of your content, see where there are any gaps, you know, like fill any bits in. And what I tend to do is go through, and this was inspired by Andy. I've heard him talk about scheduling content loads now, but like he would like set up all his drafts sort of ahead of time. So, you know, like if I know, for example, every Wednesday I'm going to do a post about my podcast, like I would put all those in as drafts so that they're there, and then I can just like fill them in and work on them when I've got time. Like I don't have to do it straight away, but at least I know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I have an assistant who helps me. And so she will, you know, we've got a spreadsheet of who all the podcast guests are, or if it's a solo show. And then she has all the templates in Adobe Express, and she just needs to update those, put them in draft, and then I can go in and write the caption after I've done the interview, so that I know what we've talked about.
That is the dream. That is, that's amazing. I think that's it, isn't it? Is when you can come up with workflows like that work really well, then it just means you've got more capacity, doesn't it? For
totally
like paid work or more marketing, anything like that.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so let's move on. And yes, absolutely, you can repurpose more if you come up with these workflows and if you're using the scheduler. So, for example, I often deliver training workshops, and then I might turn them into a blog post or an ebook, or I'll normally reuse them as a podcast topic, or vice versa. I'll use my podcast as inspiration for a webinar or a workshop, and I will use Adobe Express to design all of the assets and then resize them. It's super easy to resize and then just schedule, because as I think we'll come onto, it's not just about creating your content, as you'll know, Liz, with your podcast. It's about promoting it and making sure that people are actually going to come and listen to it.
One of the new features that I've seen, which I'm really excited about, is that, you know, like in the past, you would have to sort of like resize each page, but now you can do a whole load of them all with one click, which is like, that blew my mind. I was like, amazing. So say you've created your original graphic. If we've got time, we can have a look in a bit, but then you just go in and say, okay, I want this as a story, LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. And then it just does all of the pages all at once, which is nice. Yeah.
And if you want it as a custom size to make sure it's the right size, you can just type in the dimensions. It's so easy. So yeah, this is how you do that. So this is just an example of a square Instagram post. And actually, I was giving myself a bit of a talking to earlier today because we shouldn't be sharing all square content on Instagram. It's a different size so that we fill more of the screen. So I was thinking, actually, yes, I do need to go in and do this and resize things. So yeah, it's super easy. So you can see there, it's custom size 1080 by 1080, or I can just click any of these and it will resize in that format. And yes, I just love it. So another way to grow your audience is by being present on different media so that you can drive traffic from different places, and so that people feel, although you don't have to be everywhere, they feel as if they are seeing or hearing you everywhere. So just a few examples from my blog and my podcast, of course, with the artwork resized for Captivate, which is the podcast platform that I use, and just an example of a reel as well. So I talked about my channels being connected. Now you'll see I don't have Twitter connected because I'm not regularly sharing content on there. That's not where my audience hangs out at all. And likewise, I actually don't have time for Pinterest. I'm sure that Pinterest would probably be good, but just walking the talk here, you do not have to be everywhere. You can have a good business. And if we just go back to scheduler, and if you click up in the top right to manage connections, then you can set everything up in there. Super easy. And you'll be set up and everything just happens automatically, which is so awesome.
I've got a quick question for you, Nikki, from the chat, which from
yes.
Fergie. She says, do you have your own template set up for everything? And if so, how many variations do you have? So I know you mentioned that you've got templates, say, for your podcast, and that you work with an assistant. Sort of how many, if you've got templates for everything, like the stuff that I've seen of yours on social media is very consistent visually in how it looks.
Yeah. So yes, I have lots of different templates set up. I have templates for cover images for Facebook group, personal profile, because they're slightly different, annoyingly, size-wise. Oh, spider just landed on me. Sorry.
That's a new one. That's going to be a new one to add to my list of things that happened in Adobe.
Who was that? So I have templates set up for cover images on social media channels. I have them set up for my podcast. I have them set up for presentations like this because I do tons and tons of workshops. What else? Oh, I have them set up for PDFs for when I'm creating lead magnets. So yeah, I do have loads. Obviously, that just evolves over time. So like anything, you don't have to start with them all in place. But yeah, I find it super helpful because it just saves so much time further down the line.
Yeah, amazing.
So another way to grow your audience, and I was thinking about this morning, is so important, is to be a joiner. So what I mean by that is have a look around for communities that you can be in, maybe masterminds or online programs that you might want to join, Facebook groups even for the free ones, and just be quite strict with yourself that if you're not getting any business related benefit from them, then it's probably time to move on. So before I had this marketing company, I had a kids hip hop dance company, and we delivered classes all over Scotland. So I was in lots of parent groups for the different cities around Scotland. And when I moved on to focus on this business, I was able to just unsubscribe from all of those groups. And now I'm in ones that relate much more to this business. But I try to limit it to maybe 5 or so that I'm really present in, because I don't want to do that thing where you're just going in spamming and then leaving. Yeah. So yeah, have a look around. And if you're not sure where to start, then maybe have a look at anybody you know who's in a similar industry. Sometimes you can see the groups that they're in, or I would say start locally, actually, even if you have an online business, because often people want to work with people locally, don't they?
Yeah, that's such a good tip.
And then collaboration, also huge. So this is my dance company that I mentioned. And these are photographs from when we collaborated with another local company which sold kids' clothes. And so we organized a day. We invited our kids from our classes along, and they got to pick clothes from the range. From Bon Tot is the name of the company. So they were able to pick Bon Tot clothing, and then we hosted a dance class, and we did a photo shoot, and we did a video shoot, and we gave all the kids pizza at the end. And that made quite a big noise locally because people were intrigued to see what we'd been getting up to. So obviously that took a lot of organization, but at the time, I think my dance company probably had about 3,500 followers on Instagram, and Bon Tot had about 25,000. So I was quite nervous about approaching them. But I did, and they were so up for it. So you just never know who might be up for collaborating with you. And it's lots of fun.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. And there's so many benefits to both sides, even if like your audience size is different. And yeah, like you say, you just never know who might say yes. That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the parents came along, and it created lots of brand loyalty because they saw their kids having fun. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then lots of people often ask me about content. How much content should we be creating? And normally people are either at one end of the spectrum or the other. Often people will create tons and tons of value-based content and forget to sell altogether. Or if they're perhaps a bit less confident with their content, they might create tons of sales content, just saying, buy my thing all the time, and forget to actually add value. So I like to follow this rule, which is 70% creating your own content from scratch. So that would be using Adobe Express to create your templates and designs and share that via the scheduler. Also curation, 20% curation, where we go out and search for funny GIFs, and then we'll repurpose them and share them via the scheduler, and 10% sales roughly. Although, to be honest, I might increase that a bit. I think 10% is a bit conservative. So yeah, but yeah, definitely not too much sales, but definitely don't forget it in terms of your content. And if you're looking to curate some content, and actually somebody was asking about templates as well, there are obviously tons of templates in Adobe Express that you can start from. So if I was doing this, I would probably go in. I quite like the look of that one with the sunglasses. So I might go in and I would change all of the colors to be consistent to my brand, and I might add some text and what have you, but it's giving me a bit of inspiration and a bit of a shortcut there.
Nice. Just to let you know, Nikki, we've got about five to sort of 10 minutes left.
So we will get a move on.
Yeah.
Tip number 8 is don't ignore the haters. Now, lots of people say do ignore the haters. So let me just explain what I mean here. We created 3 different lead magnets, and we wanted to find out which one was going to be the most popular. And 25 ways to grow your audience without spending money on ads was by far and away the most popular one. So that was the one that we then put ads budget behind. And people actually really hated this one, your audience growth checklist, that did not inspire people at all. So we didn't ignore that information. We just moved on from trying to promote that because it was kind of falling on deaf ears. So definitely listen to that feedback that's coming from people in terms of the actions that they're taking or not taking as well. Another thing that we did with my dance company was to work with influencers, and this is a really fantastic way to grow your audience as well. Lots of influencers are willing to come along to things or to support things if you make an extra effort. So we hosted a dance class specifically for influencers, for mummy influencers with kids. They brought their kids along, and we gave them goodie bags and this little postcard that you can see here, and we gave them a little fruit picnic, and we had loads of stuff going on. So working with influencers can be done in person as well as online, and is a really great way to grow your audience. And the final tip is to grow your email list. So I know that we touched on this earlier, but in terms of obviously your social media, you don't actually own that. It's basically rented land. And I once ran an online challenge and was so thankful I had my email list, because does anyone remember when Facebook went down for about 8 hours in 2021? That was the night my challenge.
Traumatized.
Yeah, that was the night my challenge was due to start. But thankfully, I had everyone on my list and I was able to just email them and say, hey, we're going to start tomorrow, all being well. If I hadn't had that list, then I would have been panicking. So where should you begin to grow your audience? I would say to begin with, pick one activity to focus on or one platform that you want to grow. Don't try and do everything all at the same time. Pay attention to what you're doing, look at whether it's working, and then tweak things as you need to and repeat the things that are delivering for you. And don't try to do it alone. Be a joiner. Get people along for the ride with you, and you can support them in return, of course. But one last thing, haven't forgotten, is consistency, because your marketing is never a one and done. Nobody, this is probably one of my favorite Schitt's Creek phrases, nobody's thinking about you the way that you are thinking about you. So just going back to what we've been saying about making everything look and feel really, really consistent online and using that scheduler to make sure that you can have the level of online presence that you want to have. You don't need to go as regularly as I do in terms of frequency. Pick a frequency that works for you and just keep going at that level, and then monitor and see what's working. And if you'd like to connect, these are all the different ways that we can.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. I feel so inspired, and I'm definitely going to go and set up all my drafts in the scheduler and add all the other platforms I've been ignoring. Thank you so much for joining us on Adobe Live. Thanks for everyone joining us in the chat. Sorry that we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but we got there. And I know lots of people joined us on YouTube as well. If you stick around, there is another live shortly with Lucy and Bruna, who are going to be looking at the latest in Illustrator and Adobe Express. So stick around for that. And I will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. BST with Niki McWilliams, another Scottish Niki, to look at more fun things in Adobe Express beta. So thanks for joining us, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.